Hey, Anthony, looking good today, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the No Vacancy Live podcast. Of course, that's Anthony Melchiori. I'm Glenn Hausman, and if I sound a little weird today, it's because I'm coming at you from the lobby of the Hampton Inn, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Anthony, I got to start off by saying I felt like I should have saluted you back, but I didn't want to be offensive because I'm not in the military.
If people who are listening to this,
yes.
I am wearing my old United States Air Force uniform without the insignias because I'm not allowed to wear the insignias. And my hat, because we're going to talk a little bit about my week last week in the Air Force, and I'll explain to you what these pins on my hat are. But go ahead and make an attempt at a salute, and I'll tell you what you're doing wrong. All right. Okay. This is not Germany. You don't salute like that. Okay.
Well, like this. I'm just thinking about the way Hawkeye Pierce did it on MASH.
No. Right. And so just so you know, enlisted people like myself always make fun of officers because officers salute like that.
Right.
At the corner of the eye, your thumb in.
Right
there. No, but like more like a slope your hand a little bit. Don't go.
I see. Yep. Like that.
There you go. Like that. See that? That a little bit like angle it a little bit towards your face, like that. Okay, there you go. That's a perfect salute, my friend. Your elbow up.
Right. Elbow up.
Perfect salute. Like release your wrist a little bit, like relax your wrist.
All right.
That's a good thing, my friend.
All right. There we go. So this is a reason for the folks listening on audio. Watch the video version of the show. See me salute. So Anthony, what an incredible honor you had.
So for people that are watching it, what rank do I have? This is the rank I left the Air Force with. What rank is that? If you're you don't.
I don't know. I'm lieutenant.
Quote. Yeah, not lieutenant. I just
4-star general.
Not a commissioned officer and a commissioned officer. Even if you're a chief master sergeant of the Air Force, you're the highest enlisted person in the world. You still have to salute a lieutenant that just got out of college. Which I don't like that idea, but whatever. So, as we know, the Air Force saved my life. It was a big deal for me. So last week I had the really an opportunity to talk to 3,000 people. We are going to have the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force on our show, as you know, and we'll probably go to her office in the Pentagon. The show, which is a really incredibly big deal for me, and I know it is for you. So we can ask me questions about the Air Force, but first, if you look at my hat, okay. Let's start with this. I was the protocol officer for the B-2 bomber, okay? Wow. And so I was on the base right before the bomber came. I wasn't there when the bomber came, but I was there before the bomber came. And so being the protocol officer, I got to get all the swag to my office. Right. So that's the first B-2 bomber ever established. And over there, whatever.
Wow.
And so I have that. Now, the coolest thing I have, probably the coolest thing I have, period, is the other button that was given to me by a protocol officer, for the 4-star general in charge of missile nuclear weapons for the Russian Air Force.
Wow.
So it says Moscow on that. So that button was given to me by a 4-star general, and very few kids on my block would have that button.
Right.
How cool is that?
That's pretty amazing stuff. And the thought that we might actually go to the Pentagon, one of the world's largest buildings, is pretty cool as well.
You're such a geek. Like you said, the world's largest building. I'm like
one of them.
Generals that can protect our world. Such a geek.
Well, it's just really amazing what goes on over there and how quickly they had to put that building together and what's happened in that building. It's going to be really an incredible experience to be able to go and see that firsthand. But Anthony, I want to get back to what last week meant to you and what it meant for all of those men and women that are serving our incredible country.
Oh, I don't know what it meant for them, but what it meant for me is a big thank you. I think I told you maybe on and off there when I got back that this is the first time I didn't care if the audience members got anything out of it. I didn't care if I motivated anybody. I didn't care if anybody said thank you. That was a very selfish thing I wanted to do. I wanted to
Right.
say thank you, and everybody's going to listen to me. So for an hour, I got to say to the Air Force, thank you. And I told my story. And if my story resonated with people, it seemed it did because I spoke to hundreds of people afterwards. Got a standing ovation, which was incredible.
Yeah.
It was really an emotional thing. I didn't weep like I thought I would, like a baby, but it gave me the thing that came up the most was when I said that the day I went in, I was scared. The day I left, I was the happiest person alive. Not to be leaving the Air Force because I didn't even think about I was leaving the Air Force. I just thought of I got everything I needed. I got my confidence, and I literally, until I had children, I used to say I'm bulletproof. I said that. I've said that up until I had my first child. I was like, I'm bulletproof. You can't kill me. You can't, like, there's nothing you can do to affect me. Then obviously, as you know, you have children and all that changes. But
yeah,
so that they made me, that they made me bulletproof was everything. And just so you know, I said this jacket fit me, and the button on my jacket disagrees with me.
Which I don't understand, man. Listen, if we were whenever together, I happen to notice what great shape you're in. So I'm really surprised that uniform still doesn't.
I'm 172 pounds. I was about 140 in the Air Force.
Yeah, but most of it's muscle, man. I think
but back in the day, I was like, the reason it actually fits me here is because back in the day, I was even bigger than I am now, much bigger than I am now. My waist is a little bit bigger than it was back in the Air Force.
Yeah.
But the shoulders are actually a little loose on me. But the stomach is, I can button it, but one of the buttons said, you know what?
That's a good point. You know, my kids, they're 18 years old and they've got waistlines that are like 31. Man, I haven't seen that.
I had a 31 waistline when I lost a lot of weight to take my shirt off in Hawaii for the 5-Star Secrets. I lost a tremendous amount of weight, and I literally bought a pair of pants for the show that were 31 waist. I went to put them on the other day. I couldn't even pull up the bottom of the zipper. I'm a 36. Like, most people don't think that, but I'm a 36 waist.
No way.
Yeah, my waist and my shoulders are the same width. But anyway, so that's what it meant to me. And I'm just really glad to be connected at the highest level in the military now.
Yeah.
And be able to help them in any way I can. And the reason I want to have the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force Bass on is because I want to relate what, I'm working on another project for helping the hotel business that we'll announce hopefully in about a month or two, help the hotel business.
Yeah.
But in the Air Force, they're having the same struggles we're having outside. The only thing is, in the military, you have a contract, so you can't leave. But they are seeing people leave at a higher rate than ever. Because of all the opportunities in the civilian world, because of all the entrepreneurial ability you have now, all the technology. So you take those credentials from the Air Force and you put them on the outside world, especially if you work for government contractors and stuff, you can make trillions of dollars outside the military. So they're having some of the same problems we're having. Although when I was with them, I didn't feel any of that. I felt it was just incredible.
Wow. That is absolutely incredible. And with so many people leaving, that's not the only problem, Anthony. Right now, they're experiencing incredible shortfalls on folks coming into the military. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I do believe next month their fiscal year ends and they're something like 20-30% behind on what their goals are for the year.
Yeah, but that's honestly, it's kind of typical. There's always a shortfall. It always seems like there's a shortfall, unless like after 9/11 and everybody, including me, wanted to join. But I wanted to rejoin if I could have. I was too old, but if I could have, without hesitation, I would have went back in the military. But but the people that are in are amazing. They're again, when you're talking about unemployment or you're talking about people leaving their jobs, that's one thing. But what we're doing, what the military has to do, is keep the military strong for the next 20 years.
Right.
So and they're not there to go to college. They're not there to give speeches. They're not there to be a protocol officer. They're there to fight a war. They're there to drop bombs and fight and win. Fly, fight, and win. That's their motto. Fly, fight, and win. That's their job. And so you have to keep the morale up. The Air Force is really good at keeping morale up. And got to keep people really interested. Because if you see on my hat, I represent a missile base and a stealth bomber base. The two most important bases, the two most important things in the military. I had them at both. I was the only base in the world than 150 intercontinental ballistic missiles and a nuclear B-2 bomb. That's the only base in the world that has it to this day. Now, the nuclear bombs, 150 missiles, was decommissioned from that base when Reagan was in office. Mm-hmm. But at the time, we had both, and that was crazy.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. I thought these days the B-2s fly out of like Wyoming or something like that. I believe, right? I think the B-2s are flying out of Wyoming these days.
That is incorrect, my friend.
No, okay.
Out of Missouri.
Oh, interesting.
There's only 2 bases in the world that they can fly in and out of. Up until a few years ago, it was just Whiteman. Now it's a it's a base somewhere out of the country.
Wow, that's interesting. And when you're flying from Missouri and you have to go halfway across the world on a mission, it's really interesting how they refuel those things mid-air as well.
I was lucky enough to be in refueling a B-52 bomber on one of the tankers over somewhere in the middle of the country. And you get down, you lay down, you put your head outside this glass bubble. In this glass bubble, and you have like what looks like the thing at a gas station. And you have this long arm, and you basically put it into that hole right above the pilot's head. So if you miss, you can hit the pilot. It was so close that I could actually see the color of the the bomber pilot took his glasses off. Right. I guess it's this thing to see the color of his eyes. That's how close you get.
Oh my God! And for people listening, my jaw is agape, wide open. That is insane.
I'll give you an example. I met a kid last week. He must have been maybe 25 years old. Right. I said, "What's your job?" His job is to be somewhere in Alaska with another person. And his job is to read the radar to know if there's a bomb coming in, a missile coming in. Understood. Now, obviously, we have other radars as soon as the missile's launched. So from China or from Russia, we'll know immediately. But his job is to show the trajectory of the missile coming over before it comes to the continental U.S. And he's like 25 years old. So these kids, these young men and women are incredible. Also, the responsibility you get, and I think that's why I was
just thinking that.
My responsibility to the owners that I've worked for in my career as a hotel person so seriously, because everything's serious in the Air Force. I mean, you're there to fight, fly, and win. I'll tell you another thing.
Yeah, please.
The Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, who's the highest ranking NCO, her job is to keep the military ready for the next 20 years. When I was there, every Chief Master Sergeant, she's the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, which means she's the highest rank. Then there's like 1%ers, which are Chief Master Sergeants, which are right below her. But there's only one rank in the military, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. And it's a real rank, and it's hers. So it's first woman. And then 20 years ago, they started basically having more female officers, more female non-commissioned officers, more minorities. And so I was in that room, and it was such a pleasure. I don't think I saw one white male Chief Master Sergeant, maybe one.
Wow.
Everybody was from a diverse community, whether it be Asian, whether it be Hispanic. It was just amazing. And so her job is to create a military, not today, but 20 years from now.
Right. And it does take a long time. And I think that generally in society and in everything that we experience, people expect change to be quickly, but real systemic change takes decades. And I think people are impatient when we're trying to get that way. And I see a lot of that happening with DEI initiatives now in the hospitality industry. And I think they're really starting to take root, but we're not going to see those trees grow for quite some time.
Yeah. And it was just, from my perspective, it was just so beautiful to see and so emotional to really see, not everybody looked like me, and you really got from all walks of life, and it was just amazing, and just to be in that room. But so yeah, it was cool. All
right, should we get going with the rest of the show, Anthony?
All
right, Anthony's going to do a quick costume change over there, and while we're doing that, I want to encourage each and every one of you to reach out to our friends over at Radisson Hotels America, which is now Choice Hotels. Yes, that's right. The brands that you love are now part of one of the most powerful hotel companies out there, Choice Hotels International. So great brands such as Radisson Red and Radisson Blue are still available, and they are going to make great strides. So now's a good time to invest in Choice Hotels as Radisson Legacy brands. Go to Radisson Hotels America /EN-US/development And of course, tell them No Vacancy Live sent you. All right, while we're waiting for Anthony to come back, just want to share a little bit about how great this hotel over here is doing. I'm at a Hampton Inn Lancaster. And before this, I was at the Marriott in Newton, Massachusetts, the Boston Marriott Newton. And everybody at these hotels has been so super friendly and incredible, particularly since I'm going through a big transition point in my life. And it really started to remind me of how important it is when you're in the hospitality environment to be empathetic and really understand what people are going through in order to create a memorable experience, particularly for something like taking your children to college. Now, for me, I'm the last, I'm taking both my boys to college. We're going to have an empty nest. So it's a very serious time for us in being able to put an end cap on this part of our life and move on to the next point of our lives. And not only that, but the people at the hotel really understood what we were going through, were super nice, engaged us in conversations and all of that kind of stuff. And now, because of that interest, because of that loyalty, they've got someone that's going to come back to each of these hotels for the next 4 years. Looks like Anthony's back. Hey, man, good to see you.
What's up, young soldier?
Yeah, that's great. So just mentioning, I stayed at a Marriott in Newton. Apparently, it was built in 1967, and it was the 9th ever full-service Marriott hotel that was built. And you could still see the Marriott family and a great, a great piece of artwork over there. It's really fun. It almost felt like, as a hotel history geek, that I was really stepping back in time. Not to say the hotel didn't have a lot of great renovations over time to reinvent it, but it's kind of fun seeing these legacy properties from the earliest days.
So you say you're going through transition. So what was the first thing that one of your sons texted you that they forgot or they needed or they were concerned about that you can share with us?
Oh, just a lot of little odds and ends. We had a big incident yesterday where my son bought 2-pronged extension cords but needed 3-pronged extension cords. We've all been there before, so I had to run over to the Staples and get it. I also had to make sure that I found not just ramen but the right type of ramen that we couldn't acquire on Long Island.
It's so funny. There's something on TikTok that a woman is in Walmart, and she comes out and she turns around. She goes, "Walmart, you got all my money." And because the kid was going to school, and it's true. My wife, the day she moved my daughter in, she went shopping with my daughter, and after we had everything we needed, we thought she spent $250. I went to the store, the hardware store. I spent another like $50, $75. So just that day, we spent like $350, as opposed to the $1,000 we spent before we left.
It's so funny you should say that. Exactly the same thing over here, except we shopped at Target. And I know that in their recent financials, they reported a 90% drop in profitability. After my shopping experience, they're going to be doubling the second quarter's profitability, I think.
And the reason being because of Amazon. Amazon did a great job of marketing back to school. And we order a lot of stuff on Amazon as well.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because at first when the kids aren't in the house, it's weird, right? Very weird. Yeah. And then when they're back in the house, when they're in the sophomore and junior, like when school
then it's weird. Yeah. Well, I expect a lot of weirdness going forward, and it's going to be interesting to see how they grow and how they change and how they start to go on their path towards adulthood. So that'll be
grow up. They're forced to grow up. When I went in the military, we had a really good cushion because you had a chow hall, you had a gym, you had a paycheck, you had health benefits. You guys provide all that stuff for them. But it's still like the military, there's a little bit more of a soft landing than we had on your own. And like we didn't have, like we can get in trouble. Like if we did stupid things, we didn't show up to work or whatever, we would get in trouble. Whereas in college, you have a little bit more freedom. And, what I never understood is you're in your parents' home for so long. And then all of a sudden we rip the Band-Aid off and all of a sudden you have all this freedom. And a lot of kids lose their minds.
Yeah. And I've seen it time and time again. I remember back in when I started college in 1988, Q sad trombone sound. A lot of kids just burnt out. They didn't know how to handle the sudden freedom where they had no accountability to a parental figure. So I think my kids will be okay, but they got a bunch of maturing and growing up to do, which is only natural at this point.
My daughter's friend was over the house the other day, and my daughter's now 23. She's into her first year of working. And she said to, and I'm in the car, actually, I'm taking them to the what's that guy? Harry Styles concert at Madison Square Garden.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And they're talking, and she's like, "Yeah, didn't we squeeze out every ounce of college?" And I'm like, I'm sitting right here. I know you squeezed it out, and I know that there's like, you can probably get medals in drinking. But I didn't have to hear that. But anyway, so listen,
Yeah.
rite of passage. I went right. I got serious the time I got to the Air Force. I was a little older. I was like almost 21.
Right.
I didn't have my college degree yet, and as you know, I didn't do well in first grade because I was national. I didn't do well in fourth grade because I was drunk. And so when I went in, I felt like everybody's ahead of me, and so I had catching up to do. So I got serious. I went to school, worked on the weekends, and was doing great. I was winning awards in the Air Force. So I got real serious. I did get to party a little bit, but mostly for 4 years, I was as serious as a heart attack.
Yeah, I was not serious. In fact, I was so not serious, I went to college for 5 years.
Did you really?
I did. Yeah.
Did you fifth year, your parents did?
No, my parents did. I had a lot of family issues going on my first year. I was just telling Dr. Producer Suzanne, I got a 1.6 my first semester. I got like a D in astronomy, but I didn't go to any classes. I only showed up for the tests, and to get over 60% of the information right, not so bad with no studying.
When I got into college, I went from being like a D student to an A student. I only got 2 C's in all of college, and they were my last semester because I was burnt out. I was so tired of school, work in the Air Force. I got 2 C's in one in history, and I love history, so I took it real. I think I had 3.6 when I graduated, so
that's cool.
I was very serious about that.
I was able to make a comeback towards the end of school, so everything worked out okay. Once I actually got interested in all the classes I was taking and understood the point of personal responsibility, it all came together. But Anthony, I don't want to talk about us all day. I want to talk about some of the trends that we're seeing out there in the universe of hospitality. And if any of you folks out there have some questions for us, it's a good chance to do an Ask Anthony and Glenn segment right here. So feel free to ask any questions you have of us. But if not, I got plenty to talk about. And the one thing I want to talk about is I saw an article today in Hospitality, a tech magazine, that there's a new restaurant opening called Mesley, and they're launching a fully autonomous restaurant. And people these days are talking about autonomous restaurants and these like it's brand new, like we haven't had it before. But remember back when we were younger, how they had automats in New York City, right? It's kind of like the whole same idea then. So I'm like seeing a lot of whatever's old is new again. Did you ever get to go to one of those old automats? And I think I should explain what they are for the younger people out in the audience. Well, basically, it's a fast food restaurant where simple foods and drinks are served in like vending machines. And originally in New York, for example, I know they started in Germany in the 1890s, but you put a nickel in, you'd open up a little door, you'd pull out your soup or sandwich or whatever it is, and you'd go on your way. Now, please, sorry.
Right, it's all glass, and look at the famous one that was in New York. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a 42nd and 6th or something. And they basically were all glass, and it was all hot. There was cooks behind the line putting them in the glass, and you put the 5 cents in or whatever it was, and you get your coffee and you get your soup, and it was great. It was perfect. And when it went away, because real estate in New York City is so expensive and so valuable that you just can't make enough money in these kind of stores to make it work worth anybody's while. I have a feeling they're going to bring him back. They were bringing him back not too long ago. I think right before the pandemic, there was going to be one opening up, and it never did, as far as I know.
Right.
So I think they will make a comeback, and they were great. They're the greatest things ever.
Yeah, I think so too, particularly in this day and age. I think that it marries modern technology with where we're heading as a culture, plus meets the needs of owners. Now, if you go to Japan, which is something I'm hoping to actually get to do next summer after trying for 3 or 4 years, they have whole places that are all just about vending machines. They've got an insane vending machine culture, and the types of products you can get in it are more sophisticated than ever. And Anthony, I was over at Showboat Atlantic City last month, operated by our great friends over at Remington, and they have a automatic cotton candy machine that makes it over there, which is pretty cool. So I mentioned something to Steve Sharkey, the general manager, who's going to be moving to Pittsburgh for another assignment with Remington. And he said they're in the process of building out a whole food court that's only going to be vending machines. So it's really something that's real and coming to a hospitality venue near you.
What's new is what's old is new again. And
yep.
Yeah, but the old automats were fantastic. But if you look at the luncheonettes in quotes that we have today in New York City, where you go in, there's different stations with people, and there's a bunch of entrees in the middle of hot dishes in the middle of the store. It's basically that's an automat. It's just it looks like today, but it's an automat.
Yeah, you just pay by the pound, right?
And now instead of paying like maybe 20 cents for lunch, you're paying $250,000 for lunch.
And I also think this is a great opportunity for hoteliers. I'm here in a select service hotel, obviously. They've got a nice little area where I can buy some food and buy some drinks and throw it in the microwave and do that sort of thing. But how cool it would be to have more upgraded types of food that the guests could serve themselves and take out the middleman. So something for you hoteliers to think out there.
They're putting in those pizza vending machines.
Oh, yes, because your buddy has those, right?
Well, he wanted to do it, and I just don't. He wants me to get involved, and I don't have the time, and I don't think it's profitable enough for me to do that. I think people, when they're talking to the hotel about hotels, they think you go to Mr. Marriott, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Or Mr. Whatever, and say, "Hey, sign a contract. Thank you. I can be in 50,000 hotels." They don't realize you have to go to every single hotel, unless you do a grand standard, but you're not getting. I don't think.
They also don't understand that you have to pay the major franchising organization a fee in order to really be able to go ahead and do that sort of thing.
Major franchise fee, or did you say the mafia fee? What did you say?
Yeah, I'm just going to say I want to thank all of our good sponsors that are branded with hotels. All right, so Daniel is saying, "Hey, G man, ask Anthony if a virtual poker game is in the future. We haven't done that again. I think we really need to do that sometime again."
Yeah, I guess, but I'm not going to drink this time because I don't want to make a fool out of myself again.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And while we're doing this, let me thank the folks over at High Hotels, which operates this property, for doing such a great job over here. Anthony, I wanted to also, I'm totally forgetting. Oh yeah, I also wanted to talk to you about what is it that makes a great hotel package that's out there. You've come up with some terrific ideas in your career that are a great promotional opportunity, but I see a lot of the same old when it comes to creating hotel packages. You get a slight discount, maybe you get a parking space, and you get some sort of drink or something like that. Those kinds of things to me are very forgettable, and they aren't really distinct. And at the end of the day, I don't really think it necessarily moves the bar forward. Am I onto something? Do you think people could be doing it more creative?
There's two types of packages, right? The packages you get through a travel agent, hotels, Expedia, things like that.
Yeah.
You get travel, rent a car, a hotel, and a breakfast, something.
And I'm talking about hotel specific.
Right. When you're talking about packages like that, they're not profitable. So we are not completely motivated to do packages because they're throwaways. And because of how a rate shows up, a rate shows up on the internet or wherever you're looking, it shows up as $199, and then everything that's included. If we put it at $209 and our competitors that don't have a package put it at $199, we lose. So you have to put it at $199 and still offer all those things because you're offering a competitive rate. So it really doesn't work like it used to work.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons they don't do it. And we all know the package now is the resort fee. You get free that newspaper, whatever. It's the resort.
Yeah, free newspaper, free local calls, all the stuff that a person in 2022 is asking for.
One of the things that people said, and will say for till the day I die, that why not include the resort fee or include the breakfast fee or whatever, just in the rate. But it doesn't work that way because if you're selling a car and I'm selling a car, we're right next to each other, and your car comes with air conditioning and it comes with all these whistles, it's not going to be the same price. Okay, so you're not getting the same car. You understand what I'm saying? It's like
absolutely, yeah.
You go to a hotel and it's the same price. It's the same, same amenities. If it's $209, you're getting something different. So same thing with like I said with a car. It's $5,000 more. It's a Volvo. It's an XC90. But this one has a sunroof, this one has this. So you've got to look and the salesperson's there. In a hotel, you don't have that ability for a salesman to kind of tell you, it's not the same. You're getting just a room here, but you're getting a free soda and, free whatever. That's why why do you think breakfast became that thing that everybody gave away free breakfast? Why? Because once one person did it, everybody had to do it. I don't know why it took so long for everybody to catch up to Embassy Suites, but it did. and almost nobody is doing what Embassy Suites does and give you a full American breakfast. That's a different, market segment. But anyway, so packages in hotels like that don't work.
Right. I'll tell you what's really funny is I did this video with the then leader of Embassy Suites something like 3 years ago, and it's still getting play on YouTube. I just had like a couple of dozen views on it in the last week or so. It's really funny. We did a competition where Alan and myself each made omelets, and we competed against each other, and then they voted on it. Strangely enough, the hotel staff voted on the brand leader instead of me as a winner. I'm still angry about that one.
I will tell you, I was at cook at Embassy Suites in Overland Park for a little while, where I would make the omelets and stuff, and I became the supervisor. And we had a
all right, so I got a question. I got a question for you. A very important omelet-related question to you, Anthony. Why is it that at home I can't get my omelets to cook like everyone can at an Embassy Suites? Why do mine always stick, but they never seem to stick in hotels?
But you don't have a Blackstone, that's why.
That's probably that's probably right.
Do you have a grill? Do you have a regular grill?
I do have a regular grill. As a matter of fact, we don't have gas in my neighborhood, and I put in a gas stove a couple of years ago.
So did you just say you don't have gas in your neighborhood?
Correct.
All right, that's another conversation. But anyway,
that's not. It's not. Believe it or not, outside places like New York City, it's very not typical, because when they built the suburbs, they didn't put those lines in, and electric was a big fancy new thing. In fact, it might be coming back because jurisdictions in like California, and now they're talking about New York banning gas stoves completely because they think the gas is harmful. Okay,
that's interesting. So basically, just heat it up. Listen. You're an outside cook. You know better than me. You're a grill cook. I just heat it as much as possible, and it seems to not.
Suzanne's saying it's the lard backstage. I have a feeling I'm not using enough fats, and it's
I use butter and oil, and it works for me. So anyway, so what other important questions we have to answer for the world?
We don't have too many important questions to answer today. However, Suzanne is saying we talk a little bit about quiet quitting, which I think is really an important topic to discuss. And quiet quitting is the whole notion of, instead of quitting your job, you just stop putting effort into it. You kind of coast a little bit. And I've seen a lot of quiet quitters over the year. In fact, in China, there's gone a step further. Have you heard of this phenomenon called lying flat, Anthony?
No.
And that's basically people not going and being part of the system because they feel like they're being abused. They might as well just not partake in the workforce and live their lives, and they seem to be having a better existence. But what do you think about the whole quiet quitting thing and not participating in the workforce?
I understand quiet quitting is to just do your job. Do what's in your job description. And you're not looking to get promoted. You're not looking to set the world on fire. You're not going to take your boss's crap anymore, which is long overdue, and I agree with that. However, it's just like, you want to work from home, great. You're probably not going to get promoted as quickly as the person sitting next to their boss going out to lunch with them. You want to do quiet quitting by just doing the bare minimum, you're probably not going to get promoted. Maybe you'll get a raise, that 3%, 2% raise. So there's nothing wrong with it. I don't like the phrase quiet quitting. I just think there's a lot of people, I talk about this a lot, 70% of people that are working are mediocre, which means they do their job, right? 20% suck and should be fired, and 10% are superstars. But what we do is we spend all of our time with 20% that suck.
Right.
We pat the superstars on the back when we should be just focused on the 70%. As a manager, if you really get those people that are quiet quitting, to get them motivated, talk to them, really show them, a pride in the company, right? They will start to elevate their performance. So it's quiet quitting. It's whatever you want to call it. But it's, to me, the lack of the ability for the boss to put pride back into the workforce and to concentrate on the 70% of the employees instead of concentrating on 20% of the employees that suck. And when you do get rid of them, you're spending your time rehiring people that maybe mediocre or suck. So I think that's a bigger problem. It's not so much people just want to give up. It's they don't feel pride. Somebody asked me the other day, what's the number one thing that you find in every hotel going in? I said, lack of pride.
Yeah. So how do you fix that problem then?
There's a couple things. One, when you hire, you have to make sure that people really enjoy that kind of work. And if they don't, you're just going to get pencil pushers. And that's okay because you need some of those. But if you don't really have a passion, I just had somebody close to me doesn't have a passion for their job. They love certain parts of that environment, but the other parts they don't, and they're going to be leaving their job. So you have to have a passion for your job. If you look at everybody that works hard and works 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, very rarely do those people hate their job. Those people really, unless they just need the money, but most of those times people really love their job and they're just burnt out and they don't know how to manage their time. So finding the passion, but then it's the little things. You know, we talked about it yesterday, last week when I was at the Air Force. Mm-hmm. There was three times in my career, more, but the three times I mentioned that day, where somebody came over to me. My boss, I'll give you an example, Senior Master Sergeant Young, comes over to me, puts his foot on his desk, looks at me, and he goes, "What's your job, Anthony?" And he knew it was my job because my job, I worked for him. And I said, "Well, I do reports." He goes, "What do you think the people in the field are doing?" I said, "Well, they're flying planes and they're fixing missiles." He goes, "Don't you think they're just as important as you?"
Right.
I said, "Sir, yes, sir." He goes, "You're not the most important person in the Air Force. You're supporting our mission." And I got what he said. He goes, "You are," and he said these words. He goes, "You are better than your boss," because he was my boss's boss. He goes, "You're better than your boss. We know that, but that's okay. She is a senior master sergeant. She is doing her job, and you will not get promoted if you don't fall in line. We want you to want more. We want you to do extra, but you're not the most important person in the Air Force." Changed my life. Changed my life.
Right.
Because that one moment made me realize, we love you, Anthony. You're doing a great job, but this is a team sport.
Right.
You can't play on a team sport. She's not going anywhere. You're going to go somewhere. So those little 20-second moments or 2-minute moments or 5-minute moments, that's instilling pride in me, instilling that I work for this gentleman that spent time to offer me his advice in a very direct way, because I like direct people. And it really changed the way I look at a lot of things. And I can go on more about other things. There was one who's still a friend of mine, Chief Master Sergeant Lois Miller, who was the first Master Sergeant security police officer in the history of the Air Force. And she would make fun of me all the time, and she would joke about me, and she would make everything lighter for me because I was such a serious person. So I don't remember one thing she did outside of just always making fun of me and always keeping me my perspective.
Right.
Of dude, like, you're taking this way too seriously, man. You're doing reports. Relax. So doing those moments, like even when you and I have conversations off camera, and sometimes we hold each other accountable. Like that's how you build pride in working together.
Right. But I find your experience might be a little bit different than people's today's experience because culture has shifted so much, right? For you didn't even think about considering yourself. You were considering the big picture. I feel as if, and of course there's exceptions, and I don't mean to make broad generalizations, but younger folks, it's been instilled in them. It's more about you're special, you're an individual, as being part of this gigantic team we call the United States of America.
Yes and no. Yes, that is true.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think everybody, when you came here from a different country, your number one priority is to take care of your family, feed your family? Don't you think they're so isolated in their thinking that they're not thinking the same way? It's me. It's about a touch point. It's about a moment where you say something or don't say something. It's about making a real connection with people. It's about trust. So these human beings that are younger than us now, we're all the same. So yeah, they have different experiences. They have different technology. Yes. But most people still like you to say something that's impactful in their lives. They want we need to be around other people. So if you take the time and you take the effort, people are the same. So technology changes. Yeah, impulses sometimes change. But when you take the time and you really, I'm talking about within a structure, an organization. I'm talking about a job. But I always say, more importantly than having those touch points, more importantly than having those conversations, and more importantly than really bringing pride in, is cutting out the dead weight, cutting out the negative. So those people wouldn't last on my team because, yes, they're me. And after the second and third and fourth conversation, gentle nudging, I then shove and you go. And that's the big, if you ask me what's the biggest problem in companies, the biggest problem is people are afraid to have direct conversations because I can have a direct conversation 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I have the same direct conversation. I got to be careful. Now, I would have said 20 years ago, you have your head up your ass? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, right.
I may have closed the door and said that. And it's like, listen, I love you. You love me. Everything's great, wonderful. But like, lately, have your head up your ass. I can't say that today. I'd have to say, you have to remove your, I don't know how you would say it, but
yeah, but
that's more sensitive.
That is a really interesting point. All right, so we got a question coming from someone that you were just with this past week, Chad Anderson. Look at that. You got a picture with him over there. A few-part question. Being in the military, I'm researching companies to work upon retirement from the military. Still a young guy, wants to have another career ahead of him. It is hard to gauge because salaries are never posted, and I know it depends on location negotiations. What, in your opinion, is a fair salary range in Florida for hotel management positions? But let's start with the second part first. You had mentioned Margaritaville is a great company to work for. Opinions on Rosen Hotels and other reputable companies. You know, we're in love with Rosen Hotels, right, Anthony?
And Margaritaville.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so the answer is, Chad, you have my cell number. Call me. Okay.
Yeah.
Number two, he came over that. It was interesting. I was busy doing a lot of things, and we've been talking through Twitter or whatever, through LinkedIn. And he said, I didn't know you were in town. Can I come over and have a drink? I said, sure. So we spent an hour together. Chad's a great military man, and he's a fireman in the military. And he went to a couple of conflict zones, and it was a really great conversation to have. So I'm here for you. You know that, Chad. To answer the question is, this is what you want to do. You want to make sure it has a reputable management company. You want to make sure if you're working with Margaritaville, you want to check them out. I'm telling you straight up, they're a great company to work for. If you're working for Rosen Hotels, do your homework. Make sure there's upward mobility. Talk to people that have been in the system. Don't worry about the salary, okay? Don't worry about the salary, because if you're working for a great company and they realize you have this experience in the military and you have that experience and you want to have this job, they're not going to lose you for $5,000. So that's gone. That world is gone. Like before the pandemic, maybe after the pandemic, no one's losing you for a couple grand. Especially a military person that has an honorable discharge.
Yeah, that's a really good point over there. Also, I just want to make a point. Margaritaville is actually a franchise company, so they're working with hotel companies, hotel management companies such as Davidson, for example, that operate a lot of their properties. So, if you see a Margaritaville resort you like, find out which management company is behind it, and that'll help you lead you towards one of those reputable companies that Anthony is discussing.
Or call Uncle Anthony, and I'll get you to work Margaritaville corporate, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to understand corporate versus property level and all that kind of stuff. But Chad, I have a feeling you want to start at a property and then move into a corporate position with somebody over time. All right, Anthony, I got to hit the road and stuff like that. Is there anything that you want to talk about else before I start on my long 5-hour journey home from here?
Did the road do anything to you that you would hit it? Oh, talk about hitting the road. I took my car in. It's a lease car. It's about 2 years old. And you know how those things come up on the dashboard, bring your car in for maintenance. Well, to me, it's like just a way to get another $1,000 out of me to bring them in.
Pretty much.
Because they find stuff. So I didn't exactly bring them in all the time. I get my oil changed, but whatever. So I had to go bring my car in for a couple things. And all 4 rims were completely bent. Completely bent.
What?
2 of them they had to fix, and the other 2 they just kind of did a rotation, and they're all fine. But they were bent. Why were they bent? Because you're hitting the road, Glenn. Stop hitting the road and breaking it.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. And my apologies to roads everywhere. I'll try to be better.
Oh, read Dr. Suzanne. What's she write in the comments?
Dr. Suzanne wrote, a great labor market doesn't pay as well down here. So larger properties might have to pay more to achieve the higher cost of living down here now. Orlando is a solid tourism market.
She's giving me a pat on the back.
Oh, you?
He also multitasks and speaks to high school students while his car gets fixed. I know. Listen, I had 3 meetings today while I was at the car dealership picking things up. I am very multitask. Matter of fact, I'm putting my. I just had a T-shirt on from the gym, and I was kind of like looking sweaty. And you ever like do a Zoom and you try to hit the, hide the camera real quick, like. So they got me in my full sweat before I multitask, but sometimes I don't do it.
That's always good. My big tip for Zoom is take a 30-second video of yourself looking really engaged, put it on loop, and then run that instead of turning off your camera. That's my tip for the day. All right, everybody. Tomorrow, well, yeah. Exactly. And then nobody will know you don't care. That you are, in the spirit of today's conversation, soft quitting or quiet quitting. That's beautiful. People are going to, is he frozen? Is Anthony's camera frozen?
And in reference to quiet quitting, and it's hard to find people, and it's fun. Motivated people, money comes second. Money's always first, like I have to pay my bills. Yep. But once you're motivated and you're running to work, the rest is easy. But you have to have real conversations. Like when you see somebody that looks like they're not having a good time and they look like they've changed, they were having a great time and they just look like they're changing. Have that real conversation with them. Again, somebody close to me, it just happened. Their boss didn't talk to them. And by the time their boss did talk to them, it was too late.
Yep. Yeah. For sure.
Your employees are your responsibility. Just like having your children become good humans, you can't control everything and you can't 100% say they're going to be good humans. Listen, we don't. But your job is to do the work to make sure you've done everything. So God forbid something doesn't go right, you can say there's nothing else I could have done. Same thing with employees. Your job is not just to hire them and give them a job. Your full-time job is making sure they're happy within that organization. That's your full-time job. That's your only job as a boss, is to make sure the people around you are all focused on that mission. The Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force, Bass, she has 600,000 people. She texted me. She had her assistant text me to say, hey, love to be on your podcast. When? So her job was, she's still like, I'm not in the Air Force, and she's still making sure that, because I mentioned it to her, that she followed up with me. That's what good leaders do. You're on mute.
Hey, you finally had to tell me that for once. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting down there and doing that interview. Hopefully we'll get it on the calendar really soon, and we'll be able to do that. Now, tomorrow, if you guys tune into the Friday Night Audit, which I co-host with Craig Sullivan, we're going to be looking at 10 things that flight attendants say you must never do on an airplane, and have some laughs around that.
Number one thing is please don't wear your socks into the bathroom. That liquid on the floor is not water.
Yeah. All right. I'll make lots more faces like that, I'm sure, tomorrow. I love seeing those pictures of people like, with the bare foot on the window behind them and stuff like that. It's insane.
Listen, I don't know if I'm just fortunate. I put my headphones on. I look at the screen in front of me, and I'm like this. I'm like, just leave me alone. Although I was on a flight recently where I spoke the entire flight to somebody, a young kid that was great. It was the only third time in the 50,000 flights I've taken I've spoken to somebody.
Really? That's pretty cool.
I have the don't talk to me face.
Yeah, it's a good face to have. Sometimes I know, being a New York City guy, I know the art of putting on headphones, and even if they're not on, that way you can pretend you're on headphones and you don't have to interact with people.
Yeah, and you know when somebody like you see when you're about to sit down, they're about to say hello to you, without being rude, it's like very quick.
Oh yeah. Yep. I was doing, hey, how you doing? Great to see you. Put the headphones on. I'm out.
I don't even let them hear my voice. Unless they're a fan, but usually fans never bother you when you're sitting next to them, ever. They'll bother you when you not bother you, but they'll ask like, hey, man, your show as you're walking off the plane, which is the coolest thing in the world. You have somebody sitting next to you for the entire flight, and they don't say anything until you both get in your luggage, and then you have like a 2-minute conversation. That's the best.
Yeah, I agree. Luggage conversations are great. All right, everybody, be sure to tune in to the audio version. If you're watching us today, listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, we are. And if you happen to be listening right now, why not try us on video? That's right. We're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you like to watch your shows. We are there too. He's at Anthony Hotels. I'm at Traveling Glenn. All right. That better? That better?
Does your hand look like my hand?
Yes. I'm trying to salute. All right, Anthony. Greetings and salutations. We'll see you all next week right back here on No Vacancy Live. And until then, remember, you've got one life. You've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
All right. See y'all next week.